Everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this is part 2 of MEAN Auth Series, and as I say part 2, right? So if you want to watch my part 1 video where we have seen how we can do the project setup, so you can find this on my YouTube channel. So this is the part 1, which is 26-minute video where we have seen like what is a MEAN project, how we do the setup, how we install the necessary packages which is required to do the our development, right? The initial package which is required. So everything was covered in the part 1. So if you have missed that, so I will recommend watching you that first, and then you can continue from this part. Okay, so if you have completed my part 1 video, so you know that you have this something like this kind of folder structure. So today we will be focusing on the models. Like we will be creating models here so that these models can reflect in your MongoDB as well. So for example, our today's target is to create our user model and role model. And for those two model, we have to also create the API endpoints. Okay, so let's first go in the model folder and let's delete this first because I have created this for test in the first video. So let me delete this and let me show you the actual way of creating a model. How do we do the naming convention and everything? All right. So if you create your model first, so just click here, click this plus button and create your first model name, which is user.js. Okay, so inside the user.js, so as I told you, right, so we are here using MongoDB and to store data or to communicate between MongoDB and Node.js, there is something called as Mongoose. So we have to import Mongoose here. So import Mongoose from Mongoose. Okay, so this guy will help me to do those jobs. So from here we have to create a schema. Okay, so this schema we have to create. So which schema we are creating? We are creating for users, right? So this should be called as user schema. Okay, and here we will be using Mongoose dot schema. Okay, and inside this schema we will be passing our object. Okay, so this is how our object looks like, and in this object, right, we will be passing all our model names, like what all models we required for our project. So the first model I will be adding up is, let's for example, we need a first name, so we will just write it down, first name. Okay, and again this will accept another object, and in this object we have to define the type, like what kind of type is it required field, is it a unique field. So all this information we can put inside this object. So for example, for first name, this should not be number, right? Anyway, this should be a string. So we can specify like this, the type of this is a string. Okay, and we can also say if this is a required field, so we can say yes, kind of a validation. You can say, yeah, this is a required field, so you can put something like this. I will say yes. Yes means true. Okay, and the same thing we have to do for last name. Here we have to again specify the type, so type should be string again, and required is true. Okay, so now the next thing I need is, so I have a first name, last name, then I will create a username. Okay, for my login thing, so username. And this one is little different from the first two because this is of type string, which is okay. This is required as well, required as true. All right, but I am putting one more thing here, which is unique, that this should be unique. Okay, like no one can have a like same username, correct? So that's why we need to specify it to the MongoDB that this is my unique field. Okay, same thing we have to do for email. So let me copy this and paste it below for the email. Just change the name to email. All right, so this is type string, required is true, and unique is true again. All right, and we can also add a user password. So this will be password. Password should not be unique, so we just have to specify the type and the required thing. So this is a string and required is true. Okay, so we have first name, last name, username, email, password. So we will also try to save what we say that user image. Okay, so you can take any image, so I will be using it like profile image, something like this, profile image, and inside this I will be giving it as a type of string, and required I will say it as false. So it is not necessary it is required, so I'll save it as false. And also I can give some default image to my user, so I will put here as a default. So if I want to specify some default image to my user, so that also I can give. So you can take any link from from Google or wherever you want. You can just use it here as your default image. So I'm just using a random image from Google, which is this. Okay, if I just show you this link, if I visit on this URL, so I will be able to see something like this image. Okay, so I'm just putting this as my default image for all the users, so you can also do the same. All right, so this is my default image, which is of type string. All right, so and now what else I want to do, right? So first name, last name can give me a name also, so I don't need that. So full name not required. If we need that in UI, we can just do the string concatenation and we can show it on the UI. So no required, not required. So I will put here as one more object, which is admin. So I will be storing it. I'll tell you later when I will explain you about how to protect your route. Okay, how to add a security in your API. So at that time, this guy will help me there. So I'm adding this. So the type of this is a Boolean. So that's what you can specify. It's B caps. It's a Boolean. And the default would be the default value I'm giving this guy as false. So whenever I'm doing a registration, it's not necessary that is my admin. So that's why I said it as default as false whenever I'm creating a new user. Okay. And now I need something called as role as well. Correct. I need something called as role. So for that, what I will be doing, I'll tell you in a bit. Okay. So I will be adding one more here. I'll just put as a comment. Okay. We'll add role. Okay. And now what I will do, right? Just after this, so if we are done with this, so in the last I will say comma, and there is something called as another object which holds as timestamp. So if I say timestamps, okay, so what this timestamp will do, right, it will store the created and updated date for us. So that's what we will be doing. So I'll say timestamp as true. Okay. So I'll show about this feature once we create a record, once we try to register a record in the backend in the database, and then I will show you the benefit of this timestamp. Okay. And here I said I kept it as a blank, right? So there is a reason I kept it, because before doing this, I need to explain you about what this, like what we will be actually following here to do it. Okay, so let me open up my tab so that can show you as a drawing or something like that. Okay, so let me just go here and let me add a page. Okay, so here let me just explain you what is our target is. So what I will be doing, right? So we will be having two tables. Okay, so we will have two schema. Okay, so schema number one is what? Schema number one is your users. Okay, and second will be my role. Okay, so in this I have already shown you all my details, whatever I have stored, correct? But in this role, right, I will be again storing some more object, and this will be a separate schema which will store all the roles for me with an ID. Okay, so inside this maybe I can have three roles, which is admin, I can have user, I can have super admin, something like this, right? So what I will be doing, I will create a different schema. So this schema I will try to bind it with this guy. So same like in SQL what we do, right? We create a foreign key and all those relationships, correct? So one to one, one to many kind of relationship. So this is what we will try to achieve. So we'll try to achieve a relationship between two schema. Okay, in this. All right, so before creating that what we say that relationship, we have to first go and create this role schema. Okay, so let's go here and let's go in the models again and create our another schema, which is, I will say, if you want you can call it as table also. I don't care. It's all up to you. How do you let's call it? So I call it as schema. So I have another schema which is role. Okay, inside the role schema, this will be very easy, very straightforward. Again, we have to create this model, right, and map it with the MongoDB. So we need this mongoose. So let's import that. Import mongoose from mongoose. Okay, and okay, this is incorrect. So let me make it correct. Okay, goose. And now what I will be doing, I will have to again create a schema. So I'll say const role schema is equals to your mongoose dot schema. Again, inside that I will have my object, and in that I will create my model. So my model name is role, and this role will have a type. The type of that is a string, that is admin user whatever it is, and this will be required as true. Okay, and once we are done with this, again I will be adding one more thing here, that at what time my role was created. So I will maintain that also. So I will have a timestamp for that. You can see as an audit purpose timestamps. So timestamps, you have to make it as true. Okay, and now once your schema is created, right? So once your schema is created, you have to export that as well. So this is not done even in the users, right? I have missed it. because I want to add this and then I could have added that. So in the roles, right, once you create your any schema, you have to say, you have to export also. So only then this will be able, we will be able to use it. If you don't export it, then we will not be able to use this roles, user, whatever model you are creating, right? You have to export them. Then only we can import. That's how this works. Import export works. So you say export default, you have to say mongoose dot model as we are creating the model. So here you can specify the name of your model. So name of this model will be role. This is how it will be stored in your DB. So let me say it as a role like this. And you just need to pass your schema, which you have created on the top. So this will be role schema. That's it. So in this way, we have created our first schema. Okay. First table, you can say whatever you feel like. Okay. Now we have to use this, right, in your what we say that users, we have to do the connection or something like that. Okay, so that we can use it. So here press your comma, I'll remove this comment now, and inside this I will be having roles. So this user can have multiple roles, correct? So that's what we, okay, let me remove this from here. Yep, I think that was creating a problem there. Okay, so this is my whole object. So I have to make sure it is in this object. So that's why, oh, this should be here. Okay, and now let's create the roles. And in the roles, what you will have first. So you have to specify the type, just like we do for string and all those. The type of this will be, I'll tell you. So you have to import another thing on the top, which is again coming from Mongoose, and that is your schema. Okay, so you have to say schema. And then if you go here, we can get a lot of types option here. So we can say schema dot. Okay, so we have schema dot, and okay, so once you get the schema, so you have something called as object ID in that. So that's what we will be specifying. So let me do it like this. So in that you will be specifying schema dot types. You see types, and when you say types dot, so here you will get all the types option which is available in MongoDB. Okay, so whenever your primary key is created or your key is created, the type of key is an object ID. Okay, so it is same like SQL we are trying to do. So inside this is my foreign key, and whatever it will be created here, that will be my primary key. So primary key here becomes here as a foreign key. So that is the type. So this roles will have an ID here, which is of type this. Okay, so type of this is like object ID, and then we have to specify if it is required. So yes, required, I will put here as true. So whenever I'm creating a user, I have to specify his role as well. Okay, and then the very important thing, very important, there is something called as a ref. So ref means what? Which table is it referring? So just now we have created a role, right? So this is the role what we have created. So this refers to this role. So that's what we did for this table, for this row, or you can say for this column, or whatever you feel like, because this is not an SQL server. So this is just an object. This is a document. That's how we store in MongoDB. This is my document. Okay, so in this document, this is what I have a role. Okay, so this role should refer to this one which we just have created. All right, once this is done, I can say that okay, my model is ready now. It is ready to export. So now you can say export default. Here you say mongoose dot model, and in the model you have to specify the name. So this is user for me, and I will give the schema. So next you just need to specify the user schema. That's it. So now I can say that your schema is ready. Your two tables are ready. Your two models are ready. I'm giving 3 4 names here, so that's how they are called. Okay, so this is what my models are ready, roles and user. Now if my model is ready, right, so I can start creating the logic for the controller. Okay, so in this today's video, in part 2 video, so we will be trying to target the role object. Okay, so for example, right, so once we have the role ready, so we have to store the roles. Okay, either we can directly go in the database and store, but what I would love to do, right, I would love to show you how do we create the API endpoints to store this all the data related to roles. For example, we have role, so we need to add, update and delete, correct? So once we have a role, right, so there is two ways by which we can do it. Either we can do it from the UI. So to do it from the UI, we need to create an API for it, correct, so that we can do the communication. So which API you will be creating? You will be creating create, you will be creating read, you will be creating update, and you will be creating delete. Okay, so creating a role, reading a role, updating the role and deleting the role. So this way we will be doing a one way by we are trying to perform a CRUD operation. Okay, so anyone who is beginner here, so it is a very good time for them to learn the CRUD operation in Node.js project. Okay, so in this Node.js project, we'll try to perform a CRUD operation. Okay, so for them, if you are very new to this Node.js thing, then this video is going to help you a lot. All right. So, and if you like, if you already know this Node.js and things about this CRUD operation, do let me know in the comment section. Like, hey, Shashi, I already know this, so that I must know, okay, what my audience know and what else the extra I can help them with. Okay, so just mention it in the comment section if you know this already. Do not forget. Okay, so once I have this role thing, so let's create our first API endpoint. Okay, so to create the endpoint, right? So I will be going in the index.js file first because that's where I have to add my middlewares. Okay, I'll talk a lot about middlewares in the later when I will be explaining about how to handle errors and all this. So I will be taking a dedicated part, creating a dedicated part for what is middleware in Node.js. Okay, but for now, let's go and try to focus on this way, like how we can create the route API endpoint for our roles. All right, so let's go here and create something like this. So we have to say your app. Okay, we have to say app dot use. Okay, so in the app dot use, I will be creating my API endpoint first, and let me just show you that. So it will be slash API slash, you are doing it for role, so I'll say role. Okay, and inside this, right, just after this, I can have my logics here. Like I can do the request response next, which is my next middleware it will call. I can do all of this here. Okay, but again, I will be not just working in this single JS file, right? That's not the correct way of doing a development. Yes or no? So what we will try to do, right? We'll try to organize it. So whatever routing file we will be creating, that has to be done inside my routes folder. Okay, so that's what I will be doing. So first I will be going and creating my first route file. So the first file name I will give as role.js. Okay, and in the role.js, as we are trying to do a routing, like we are doing a route, so I have to first get few things from the import. So first thing I'll get as express from express. Okay, and then I will create my router from express. So I say const router is equals to express dot router. So this is what I get from express. So this express has this router, and by using this router we can create all our get, put, post, delete. I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, so here when you say router dot post, okay, router dot post, where you want to post on just slash, if I say on just slash, okay, so in the slash I will create my first logic. I can just say it here as this will take my request comma response comma the next function. Can you see here? It's also highlighting here request, response, and next. It takes my three things, three parameters, arguments, next. All right, all these three we are passing inside this, and now we can create our first logic for our post. So let me put a comment. So this will create a new role database. Okay, this logic. So in the same way, we can do it for put, delete, and get. So let's do it one by one. So let's do it for the first create. So as we are trying to perform a CRUD operation. Okay. All right. So let's try to use try and catch block. So let's use a try catch block here, and what we can say here that, so first of all we have to check the request body. Okay, so how we can check that? We can do some checks here if you want. So we can say request.body.role if it has a role, and we can do some additional checks, so people do it. So we can just say request.body.role. Okay, request.body.role is not equal to null or empty. Okay, if this is not the case, right, then you will go and create, a role, because okay, if user has passed all the details from the UI, and now you are okay to create a role. So now I'll say okay, const new role is equals to, so I'll say new role. See, it is coming from dot slash model. Okay, always remember one thing. So this is coming from your dot slash model from this folder, right? Models. Always remember to put here as .js. Okay, if you don't put it, it will throw error in the runtime. Okay, not runtime, sorry, it's compile time. Okay, so to not to get those compile time errors, always do this. Okay, .js. Okay, so now once I have this model, this is my model, and this model will accept the request body. So we can pass the request body directly. So I can say request.body. So it will take this new role. What we need to do, we need to save the role, correct? But one thing, do not miss it. This is an asynchronous operation. So we have to say async. This is all because of MongoDB is an asynchronous operation. So we set it as async, and to save the role, we have to say await, and we can say save role, like new role dot save. So once I save it, I can return it back to the user by saying, okay, return what, response dot send. I can say role added. Okay, I can say role created. Okay, but if this is not the case, if this condition is not true, Okay, so it comes in the else condition, and this will say return response dot return, or I can say directly return response dot status. I can send it as 400, and dot send what I can need to send. It's a bad request. I can say bad request, something like this. Okay, and if there is any other error, right? There is any other error, we can just put catch them in this catch block, and we can say 500. And there is something issue with the server, so we can say internal server error. Okay, save the changes, save all the changes. Okay, and this way we have created our first API endpoint. So what happens now? So whenever I go on the Postman, or maybe using the browser, or maybe UI, Angular, React. So we will try to go on this URL like localhost 8080 slash API slash role, and then we have a slash here slash role. People can do it like this also, role slash add, role slash create. So it all depends. Okay, so I can say API slash role slash create. Okay, so it will come to this logic, and it will try to save it in the database. Okay, so let's try to save all the changes, and we will see it in the by running this. So how do we do? Npm start. This is what we have created last time. Okay, so it is crashing, so let's see what is the error, we can fix it. Okay, so if you go, you're right, it is complaining in the index.js file that we have kept it as empty, correct? So this is our API route, correct? So to use this, right, so whenever the call is coming on this, I want to call this role.js route, correct? So once we have created this, we have to export this also. We have to export this route also. We'll say export default. Okay, export default what you have created. You have created a router, right? So you'll just say router, export default router, whatever you have created. Okay, so once you export your router, so now you will be able to import it, correct? So let's import them in the index.js file. I'll say import from dot slash. Is it correct? Import from dots. Okay, we can just give a name first. So this is my role route, and this I should make it as a small role route from dot slash. Should be dot slash will be enough. Yes. So go in the route slash role dot js. Always remember this extension dot js. Okay, and now we can use this inside this. So whenever this route is calling on API slash role, so this will call this guy, and this guy will have the logic, right? Logic to create. So it will check, okay, if it has that slash create, so it will create a role for me. Let's save all of them, and let's see if it is still breaking in the console. Okay, now it says that connected to database and backend both. All right. Okay, so now a very important thing, like if you are working in backend, if you're working in creating API. So the important thing is you need to test your APIs, correct? As a developer also. So there is a best tool out there, which is Postman. So I use it a lot. So you can use this Postman. Okay. So I will be trying to test my API by this endpoint. Okay. So I will be creating a new collection. Okay. You can create a new collection. I'll give it as MEAN Auth. Okay. MEAN Auth. I'll just give it a name, and inside this we can create a new request. So our first request name is create role. Okay, and this is a post call. So this is a post, and what is the localhost URL? So it is API slash roles, or maybe it's role, right? Yeah, it's role. We can confirm it. API slash role slash create. Okay, and we have to pass a body. So let me zoom it a bit for you guys. Yes, much better. Now we have to create the body for it. So let's go here in the raw, select a JSON body, and just try to write our first thing. So we have to pass the name, correct? Role.name, the thing what we are checking on the UI. That's it, right? So we can specify the thing. So we have request.body.role. So from the body we have to pass role, not name. So this should be role, and give the role name as admin. Okay, so this is the API endpoint. If I click on send, okay, so I get internal server error, which means while saving this request, right, my request fall under this one. So there was some error in this code. Okay, but that problem already, but I wanted to just show you that error first, that why we are getting this internal server error. Okay, so if you go here, right, so because we are trying to send a body, like we are trying to use a request.body, correct? So that's why if you want to use this body coming from the request, so suppose for example we are trying to send a request from the postman, and in the body, right, this is my body. Okay, so request.body.role. Okay, but we are not able to get this body. Why? Because we haven't configured that in the middleware. Okay, So let's go in your index.js file. Okay, and here you have to configure it. So what I will say, right, I'll say just say your app.use. You have to use body, so you have to say express.json. Sorry, express.json. So we can, so that it can accept all your bodies in the JSON format. So that's how your body looks like. Okay, and let me put these two in the just down somewhere here so that I can, yeah. So here I will have all my middlewares created. So app.use, I say express.json. Okay, so now it will accept all the JSON objects. Okay, and now if I go on the Postman again, okay, and now if I click on send, can you see I got a different message now? It says that role created. Okay, and now if you go in your okay, MongoDB compass, if I go here in the auth, let me refresh this. Yeah, it's already refreshed. So let's me open this one. So can you see my two schema got created, roles and user, which we had just created in the model. If you go in the user, right, so here you can find, you can try to create the data by your own by clicking on this, by inserting document, okay, by putting all the model names, or else you can do it like what we just did for the roles. Can you see, this is what we have created. So this id got created automatically. That's how it's done in SQL also, right? The primary key auto incremented. So same in MongoDB, it creates an object ID for us, and this is the model name it given as role. But one thing here is very interesting, which is created at and updated at. Okay, so from where this is coming, we haven't added this right in the model. So this is coming from this guy which I was just talking about, which is timestamp. So if you make timestamp as true, right? So MongoDB by default added these two for you, created and updated at. So that's what the benefit of timestamp is. So whenever there is a creation date, so it will add it, and whenever we try to update this, so this will get updated. Okay. All right. So in this way, we have created our first endpoint, which is create, which was like creating a role. Okay. So now let's try to create our another endpoint, which is update maybe. So we can go ahead and do the update, call, delete, and all those. Okay, to create an update rule, let's go in the again the route. Okay, so now we have our router dot post, and we have this. So now I have to create our second endpoint. So I will be changing the name to create, or no, it's not okay, it's an update. So update role in DB. Okay, how do we do that here? So it's again very simple. So for update, we have router dot put, correct? And in router dot put, we can specify like which role you want to update, correct? So here I can say again, right? So this is my endpoint. So we have to specify slash update. Okay, and here we can write a logic. We can say request dot response dot comma next, sorry, and then we can do the callback. And in this we can write the logic to do the update call. So we can have a try catch. Okay, the shortcut would be like this. Like if you just say your if you write your try, you get this second option, try catch statement, press on tab, it will create for you. Okay, so again, whenever there is any error, so which means it comes in the catch block, and we can return something like this. So that internal server error, something went wrong in the server. But in the try, we will write the logic to do the update, correct? So here we just need to specify the ID of it, like which ID I want to do the update. So that's why I will pass the params as well. So I will be passing the param, which is my ID. So I'll say slash ID. Okay, so this will be inside my params, and this ID I will be using it here in the request.params, correct? So now in the catch block, or in the try block, I will say const role equals to await. As I'm using await, then my method should be like async. So this is my async, and this is await. And now again, I will call the model, which is role, which is on the top here, this role. I will say role dot. Okay, so I'll get all this feature from MongoDB, which is find. Okay, so I want to do role dot find by ID. So whatever ID I will pass inside this, I will be using that. Okay, so I want to find by ID, and I will say it like this. Okay, so you want to find ID, which is this. Okay, where is your ID? It is there in the request dot params dot ID. So this is my request dot params dot ID. So whatever I will pass inside this will come inside this ID. Okay, and this ID we are trying to find in the role database. Okay, and now once this has the ID, okay, so now this value will get filled. So if this value is filled, so if I have a role, if this is not empty, okay, so which means I want to update this. So I will say, okay, if you want to update, I will say const new data. Okay, new data, just I'm giving any name. So here I will say await role dot. So when I say role dot, so I get one more like benefit of this, so which is find by ID and update. Okay, find by ID and update. Okay, so in this block, what we can do, right? So we have to first specify the ID, which ID you want to update. I say request dot params dot ID. Okay, and the next thing is I want to set. So I want to set. So I get some feature like this. I want to set. Okay, and I want to set the request dot body. So whatever body it is coming, right? I want to set them. So I'll say dollar set, say request dot body. So update this body which is coming from the postman. Okay, and there is something called as new as well. So there is something called as a result. So I'll say new as true. I'll talk about this new when I'll show you in the API, okay, what this new is actually doing. And once this is done, I can say, okay, return response dot status. I can send it as a 200, and I can send a response to the backend that role updated. Okay, so role updated, correct. But if this role is not there, so I can just say in the else condition, I will say return response dot status is 400, maybe, yeah, 404 which is not found. Status is 400. I can send that role not found, correct. And this way I have created one more API. So let's save the changes, and let's try to do this in the postman. So let's create one more request. So let's go here in the three dots, create add request, and this will be my update role, and the URL will be http put and localhost api slash role. This will be update. The one thing is we have to pass the ID after slash. So to get the ID, let's use the MongoDB compass, and I can copy this ID. So this ID I want to update. So I have to pass it here. So localhost API slash role slash update this role ID. But you have to pass the object. So by which value you want to update? So pass it a JSON, and JSON will have a role, and you just need to give the name. So previously the currently what is the value? It is admin. So I want to change it to user, or maybe I want to change it to super admin. So I'll say here as super admin. Okay. So in this way, I have created the endpoint. It's there. If I click on send, can you see I get a response from the backend, which is role updated. Okay. And now if you go in the MongoDB compass, if you refresh this, can you see the role got changed as well? It's super admin now, correct? And also see the time also got updated. Okay, so the time is updated. So created was 14 and updated is 22, which is my time here. All right, so this is how things works in MongoDB. So I have created, updated it, everything is there, and I have updated the role as well. Okay, but do you think this is a good way of doing things? Like, don't you think we are here doing something wrong? I said it as a single responsibility principle. Like, I have a folder whose name is routes. So don't you think this route should do only the routing job? But this is also trying to doing the logic part also, like how to add, update, and all of those. So if you remember, right, the last video where I have explained about like single job thing. So we will be following MVC pattern. So we are not using the controller yet. As I have told, right, we will be using controller for all our business logic. Okay. So this business logic, we are doing it in the route folder, which is incorrect. Okay, so that's why we will be now taking all this logic code inside the controller. So let's see how we will do that. So open up your controller folder, create your first controller. So be very excited, we are going to create our first controller, and the controller name would be role.controller.js. Okay, how do we create a controller? It's done. It's very easy, right? It's a very simple way to do. Just create the file name. That's it. Created. Now you have to write your logic in the controller. What is your first logic? My first logic is const. I want to create a role. Const create role. Okay. And this is going to anonymous function. This will again take the request response. Okay. I don't even need to do this much hard work. What I can do, I just need to take the logic, right? So I'll go in the role.js route. I will take all this logic from here till here. Okay, all this logic from here till here, and I will paste it here. That's it. That's what I was trying to do, right? I'll have taken all the logic. So I've separated the route and controller by because I've removed all the things logic from here to here. Same thing I need to do it for update also. Let's do it very quickly. So I'll say const update role equals to, let's go and copy everything again, copy till here. That's why this color bracket is very helpful, huh, guys. If you don't know this, please install this extension. Okay, so now if you go here, just paste it. So we have our two logic created, which is create and update. Okay, but how will they work here? How will they work here? So I need to get them here, right, so that I can call them. So you cannot get them because you are not exporting it. So you want to import it in the role so that you can use it. So to import, you first have to export. So you have to export your logic, export const create role and export const update role. Okay. So now these two role is exported, so they are importable in any file. So we can import it here. So whenever this is calling create, please run create role logic. See, it is imported on the top, correct? Same thing for here. Whenever this route is coming on this line, always call update role. See, it is again updated in this URL. So no need of this role in this file anymore. Okay, but we will be using it somewhere here, right? So we have to import this role inside this. So let's go and import. Just do your import from, or we can just say an import role from dot slash model. Okay, model slash we have this role. Okay, role.js. Don't forget this js, right? This is very important, or else this can throw some error in the compile time. Okay, so make sure. Okay, so once we have this ready, okay, so let's scroll down and let's create our another two endpoints. As we are able to create the role, we are able to update the role, but let's see all the roles. Okay, whatever we have in the database, we can see them in the UI or in the API whenever we are calling the get. So let's create that handler, export const get all roles. Okay, so async. Again, this will have my request, response, next. And so our handler is here. So we just need to call this handler inside the route. Okay, role route. So let's create our endpoint for that first. So this will say get all the roles from DB. Okay, and just below this we will say router dot get. Okay, and in the get we just specify the endpoint which says slash get all. Okay, so to be very honest, we should not use something like this. We can just directly say API slash roles, and the get means it will get all the roles. But just for you guys to understand, so that's why I'm just keeping it. It's not mandatory to have get all. You can also keep it as blank. Okay, so router is that get all, and then we have to call the handler which we have created, which is get all roles. So once I click tab, so I can see this is imported on the top. Also make sure your name is correct, role controller.js, because this js can be missed if you are using directly from the imports and all those. Okay, save all the changes. Yeah, it's correct. Now go here and create the logic for get all. Get all is the simplest one among all. Okay, so again we have a try catch block, and in the catch block we will be writing the same error if there is anything wrong in the server. So we will put it here, and in the try block, okay, so next remove this. Yep. So in the try, we have to write the logic to get. So I say const roles is equals to, again, we will await. So async and await. And now we can say that role dot find. Okay, so this method is coming from MongoDB, right? Role dot find, and it says that give me all. So I want to apply no filters. That's why it is blank or empty object, I say. That's why I follow as a pattern. You can remove this also, you can do, but that's what I follow always, that I want to apply no filters, give me all the roles. So now in this it will give me all the roles which is saved in the MongoDB. Okay, and we just say okay, if the role is there, so just take it and say response dot status I will be sending as 200 and dot I can send. Okay, so once I send, I can send the roles like this, send all the roles. Okay, so this is the simplest API ever. So once this is created, save the changes, and now go on the postman. Let's create our another request in this collection. So add request, give the name of the request as get all roles, and let's put the API, which is API slash role slash get all. This is how the API endpoint look like. No need of body. Click on send. Okay, so once you click on send, you can see, right, you have to create, like you have this role which is in the admin. You can see, right, if I just refresh, can you see I have this one single. Okay, so this is what it is trying to return me as an array of object. So this is how the get all also works. Okay, now for example, right, we have to delete an API endpoint. So let me create one more role just as a dummy role. So dummy dummy role. Okay, let me create this role created. Now if you go here in this MongoDB, you will be able to see two roles, admin and dummy. And if you also want to confirm it from the API, so we have a get all roles created. Now if you send the request again, you will see two roles. Now we have admin and dummy. Now I want to delete this dummy, so for that I have to create another endpoint. So let's again create the handler. I'll say export const delete role. First should be small, yeah, delete role. So again this will be my asynchronous method. So request comma response comma next, and in this I will right? My logic. Okay, so how do we delete this? Okay, so let me again put a try catch. So this is my exception. So it will go here and return the response as internal server error if anything wrong in the backend. And now let me just show you what exactly I want to do. So again, I will be passing something in the query params. Like in the params, I have to pass the ID of the role. So let's go in your route. So first let's create the route for it. So this will be delete route. So delete role from DB, and this will be router dot delete. Okay. So what you want to delete? I want to delete the ID, delete the role. Okay. Delete the role. So we already have that created, right? So it is API slash role slash ID which you want to delete. Okay, that's what you can directly say. Or you can just say delete role and slash, just put the role ID. That's it. Just put the ID like here. Okay. So now this is how your endpoint looks like. Okay, let me post this. Yeah, this is good practice. Okay, so this is the endpoint created, and this ID is your, we will be passing it from the query params. Okay. So this query param will go here, and what you can do, right? So for example, I want to take it first. So I'll say role ID is equals to request dot params dot id. Okay, so this id will come inside this role id, and now you can use this role id. So just to tell you that what I have in the param, it is the role id which I will be passing. Okay, and now I can just find the role first. So I'll say const role. So I will check if the role is existing in my database or not. So I can use await. I will say role, which is here, which I have imported this role, which is coming from the model of a MongoDB. So role dot find by ID. Okay, in this I have to find by ID. I'll say let's find my ID, which is this role ID. So I'll try to find my role ID if it is there. Okay, if I have a role, right? I have a role. So this object is not empty or blank. So if it has a role, then I want to delete. Okay, if there is no role, then no need of deleting, correct? So if I have a role, then say await and then say role dot find by ID and delete. So this is the method again provided by MongoDB, which is awaitable. So find by ID and delete, and you just need to pass your role ID. That's it. Pass the role ID. Okay. And once you delete the role ID, you have to send the response, correct? So you will say response dot status give us 200, and just send it to the UI by saying role deleted. Okay. And if there is no role, correct? So we can go in the else block. If there is no role, we can say, right, we have said it already, like return 404 role not found. Okay, if the role is not found, right, if there is no role, then you can say role not found and always semicolon in the last. It's a good practice to do. Yeah, I always love to do it. Okay, it's fine. Okay, fine. So that's how we created that. Let's save all the changes and let's check if this is working. So now if I go in my get all roles, I want to delete this, right? So I'll just copy this ID and let me create the another request, which is this mean stack request. Okay, go here, add request. This is my delete request. Let's use my URL, which is API slash role slash delete role slash. You just need to pass your ID. Okay, so that's how it looks like, API slash role slash delete role. And here we are passing the ID, which is the param into the param. Okay, and now if I click on send, see it says, okay, it says that 404 not found. Let's see why, because I think the URL is not matching. So that's why. So let's go here and see what mistake we did. So in the delete role, let's go in the route, and if you see, right, so we have a delete role. So let's copy this, and then we have a slash id. So I hope the spelling was correct. So it is delete role slash id. Okay, so API slash role. Let me confirm here also. Okay, yes, so it's a problem, right? So we haven't added our handler, yes or no? So we have created the route, but we haven't added our handler. So let's go and add our handler, which is delete role. Okay, like this. So now if you see, it's updated on the top as well. And now this guy will call this logic, and this will execute this. So let's save the changes. Save all the changes. Let's go here and let's click on send again. Can you see, once I click on send, I see the message role deleted. And if you want to confirm, now you don't need to go in MongoDB. So you have an API endpoint created. So you can just confirm it from here. If you send it again, so now you have to, if you send again, so you can see that your one role is deleted. Now you can only see admin. All right. So in this way, we have completed the part 2 of this auth series, where we have did a lot of things. So let me just do a quick recap. So first thing we did is we created the two models, which is role and user. We also saw how we have did the relationship between user schema and role schema, correct? So we have seen that as well. We also saw how do we create our routes Correct. We also saw how do we add the middleware for JSON file so that we can send a body from your Postman or maybe even from Angular. So that's how we configured this also. And we also saw how we have created the CRUD operation in MEAN stack project. Like we have created a CRUD, right, which is role, like creating, updating, deleting, and getting all the roles. So that's how the CRUD operation is all about, CRUD. So we have did that also. So this was all about this today's video. If you like this video, so please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel as well. And if you really think, like if you have a friends who are really want to learn mean stack, like this is very a beginner friendly kind of a series. So this is going to help them a lot because that's how I am trying to target. And my target audience is like beginner to intermediate who really want to learn mean stack with Angular or React. So I will be having a quick poll maybe later, like because we will be creating the UI for this project as well. So I will be creating a poll after my part 4 or part 5 of this video that what kind of framework do you need? Like, do you want me to do it on React library or you want to do it on Angular framework? Okay, so do let me know in the comment section if you still have your opinion. Please mention them in the comment section. I will be happy to see it so that based on those decision, I will on your whatever you have given the feedback, I will be creating it, okay, going forward. You can also contact me on Telegram, you can contact me on Instagram, even you can contact me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm available on all the social platform. And if I just try to show you, right, in my Telegram also, right, so how active we are. So here you can see, right, we have this. So whatever update I have regarding the mean stack, the auth series, doubt session, so I cover them all here, so you can just see it here. So do like subscribe to, let's become my member there, so you will find a lot of benefits. Like whatever you have doubts, anything, you can just contact me and we can fix it together. Okay, so you can follow me there also. You, so I hope you have enjoyed it, and if yes, so you know you what you guys have to do. Correct. All right, so before going, so let me also tell you that what we will be doing in the next part. So in the next part we'll try to create some more models, and we will also try to see how we can do the user registration and login. Okay, so next part will be all about those two, like around those API. You still will have a fair idea, right? What you need to do. Okay, so we will be creating things around the user model now, and then later on we will try to add the security things in the auth series by adding JWT, by adding tokens, by using cookies and all of those. Okay, so we still have a lot to learn. So please subscribe to my channel to get all the updates, right, about whatever I will be doing in the next part. Okay, so till that time, bye bye and keep learning, guys.